So let's just review what we've got so far. We've created ourselves a selection using a query. So we have all of our records on here. We click on a name on there, click on View Details, and that brings up our next form. We've got a subform in the bottom here, and we're able to save the data at the top simply by clicking on the Save, which runs the Update Learner query. The question then is, how do we do a delete query? Well, actually the delete query is a little trickier, but only because it's not part of the ordinary features. What we're going to do is, first of all, create the query. So I'm going to click on Create Query Design. In this case, again, I still want the learner table, but I only need the learner ID, because if you think about it, all I'm saying is delete the record with this learner ID. So I choose learner ID in the first column, and then again, I don't want to select query. This time I don't want an update query, I want to use a delete query. So I click on delete, and just as with the update query, the bottom here has changed, and it's obvious that we're going to use the same command we did before, forms, exclamation mark, there's the from learner, full stop, and if I start typing in learner, we can see learner ID. So it's the same statement that we had before, and basically it's saying take the learner ID field that's set for this and delete it. I'm going to close this and save it. Query delete learner. Click on OK. So there's not much difference between a delete query and an update query. The difference comes to how to add it to the system here. What we need to do here is I'm going to add the button just as we did with the update query. I'm going to go to miscellaneous and to query and click next, and you'll notice that the delete query does not appear. Now I've not actually been able to find out why it doesn't appear, but it's simply something that Microsoft seems to disable. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm simply going to cancel this whole command. It's easy to change the wording on here. All I've got to do is click on it, and then I can put whatever I want in there, delete or however I want. If I want an image in there, then I would use the properties. So if I go over to here and I go to format, then I can look for anything that relates picture, caption, picture, no picture caption. Therefore I would need to change that picture type, embedded picture, none. So I then browse or select a picture off there. That's perfectly fine. So I'm not really majorly worried about a picture. I can add that very quickly. But I can't seem to get this to do the job that I wanted it to do. I can't use the wizard features. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to event instead, and I want to go on click. Now we last time, clicking on the triple dots, we last time went to code builder, but actually I'm going to stick with macro builder this time. Click on OK. And all I'm going to do here is I'm simply going to set this to open query. Now it's worth looking down this list because there's all kind of things. Every button you create using the wizard will use commands here. But for example, if you ever want to have an exit application, exit database, then it doesn't run the quit access, it simply closes down your forms. So you could have one that quits access and actually closes down the entire system for you. And there's lots of really good little tools in here, but the one I want is open query. I'm then going to look for the query's name, and it's there, query delete learner. I'm not going to worry about anything else, they're perfectly fine. All I'm going to do is close this down, save it, so that's done. That's already on there. If I click on the triple dots, I can see my query there. So that's working quite nicely. I don't want to delete an existing record I've got, so I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go to TBL Learner, and I'm going to add a new record, and there we go. Now notice, by the way, that my new record doesn't appear, and you might think, well, this is a bit freaky because, you know, really surely it should. But that's because when this ran, it actually loaded the data. I actually need to close the form and reopen it, and now it should appear just there. View details. I've got that. I'm going to click on delete, and I get a warning, just as we did with the save with the update query. It's warning me. I'm going to say yes to that, and it's going to warn me that I'm going to delete one row. Well, that's good. That's what I expect. And I'm going to show you in this video how to switch these off. Clearly, don't switch off the warnings until you know all of your queries run, because when you're experimenting, you may suddenly find that it says delete 10 rows or 3 rows or however many rows, and you find you've just emptied your whole database. So do tread carefully. Don't delete the warnings yet. But we've got that working. We'll just check it and notice everything's gone off of there. Well, that's because we just deleted this record, and so this is messy. Let's close back, and if we look at the list, we can see it says deleted. If I actually close this form and reopen it, then I can see John Doe doesn't exist, and if I open the TBL Learner, I can see that John Doe doesn't exist. So the delete works. But there's two things that are really frustrating. If I've deleted the record, then I really don't want to be able to see the table anymore. It makes no sense. Let me reopen the form. I don't want to see this once I've deleted the record. So I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to go to the macro. So I'm going to go to there, and I'm going to close form. So I'm looking for close and close window, object type, form, object name from learner. So I'm going to close this one down. Save. I'm going to say no to that at the moment. Notice when you've saved, if I've changed the features of this, if I run this now, it's going to close this down without saving what I've just done. So I've got to remember to save when I've closed this down. Obviously, I don't really want it just closing the form, so what I'm also going to do is I'm going to find the open form. Notice we used close window, but if we want to open a form, we have to open form. I'm going to choose the form name, which is going to be select learner. Form view, I don't need anything else in there, so I'm just going to leave those as they are. So that's quite neat. I can open up another form that way. I'm going to close this, save it, save. Now clearly that's going to close the form, but I did remember there was something else. That's annoying messages. So what I'm going to do is I want to stop the messages. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to try and move these all down, which is simply by pushing that, and I should have gone to this one here and moved this one up. Now there's one called set warnings, and you'll notice that if I look through this, there is no set warnings, and that's because to make your list easier, Microsoft don't show you all the commands, and you've got a button here that says show all actions. So I'm going to switch that on, go back to here, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see set warnings. There it is, and I set warnings to no, so I don't want it to show the warnings. So I'm going to take this up, take this up, take this up. I accidentally took that one up, so I'm going to push that one down. So there's the open query, close window, open form. But before I do any of these two, I want to make sure that I set warnings again, but this time I set it to yes. So I only want to disable the warnings whilst I'm running that query. So I'm going to go back up, go back up. So switch off the warnings, run the query, switch on the warnings. Don't switch your warnings off permanently. That's going to cause you all kind of problems later on. Close that down, save. And what I'm going to do now, save the warnings. Notice I clicked up there, but go to TBL, and I'm going to re-add John Doe. So I'll re-enter John Doe, close this form or put it into design view, review, so I can get John Doe. There he is, view details, and I'm going to click on delete. Now that's taken me back to here. He's deleted, but this actually didn't close, and that close facility is really useful. Surely if I've got it on there, I could also do it on here. So what I'm going to do is go to the view details, view the macro, there's the open form. So what I'm now going to do is tell this to close window, object type a form, object name from select, prompt no. I'm now going to close it, save this form, And if I now run this form, I can select, oops, I'll tell you what we'll do before we do. We'll re-add John Doe. We'll rerun the form, John Doe. View details, there's John Doe. We can now see the forms disappeared as if by magic. Delete John Doe, we're taken back, and we don't get the delete message. So we've got a nice opening and closing of features. The only other thing I do know I haven't done on here, whoops, yeah, okay, thank you. It's warning me that I haven't selected anything. The only other thing I could do with it on here, if you remember, the save button has the same issues with warnings. So just remember, show all actions, scroll to the bottom, we're looking for set warnings, no, move it up, and then set warnings, change it to yes, save, close, save, close, and that should work. So if I run now select, I can now go to Mickey Mouse, I can delete Mickey and reduce it to Mick, save the data, close, and that, of course, I forgot to open the other form up, so what I need to do is do the same thing we did before, which is on the close button here. I can now open the form, form name, select, everything else I can leave the same, save, close, view the form, close this, comes back to here, choose Mick Mouse, and I can see the details have changed, and each time save, close. Each time everything is working in conjunction, and now I have a system that allows me to move through menus, close down menus and everything else.